Part of discovering Glasgow is finding your way around Glasgow. So this lesson will be teaching you about how public transport works and also a little bit about walking, which goes with public transport. So our public transport is the biggest public transport system in the UK outside London. It has masses of coverage. It actually stretches well beyond Glasgow. But the buses are particularly around Glasgow. Trains stretch beyond. Subway is tiny. It's closer to the middle of Glasgow. But it's the third oldest in the world after London and Budapest. We also have many taxi companies, and generally with all these things, it's very easy to get around. So the first kind of transport I wanted to look at is buses. We have several bus companies, but the most common one is First Bus. It might be that you live somewhere that has other bus companies you want to use, but First Bus is the main one. So they have different colored buses like this one, and some of them like that actually match the colors of the lines on Google Maps. So these buses have a lot of coverage, they have a lot of stops. So not only are they all over the city, but a lot of the stops are really close together, like 2 minutes walk apart. So because there's so many stops, the stops don't have any names. This means you can't say, I'm going to the stop with this name. You have to just say, I'm going to this place. And then when you're looking at Google Maps, you follow the blue dot. And then once you find your way around, you'll not need a name anyway. So because there's so many stops, it would take forever if the bus stopped at all of them. So it doesn't. It only stops if somebody asks to get on or they ask to get off. So to ask to get on, you stand at a bus stop, hold out your arm towards the street when the bus is coming, and the driver will see you and pull over. To get off, the vertical handrails you can hold on to, and they have buttons to push, and when you push the button, the driver knows to stop to let you off. So because we don't know, no one knows how many people will want on and off, the timetable isn't exactly reality in terms of when the bus is going to come. So you have to allow some flexibility for these. It might be hardly anyone wants off and the bus is potentially early, though I think they slow down to fit the timetable, but they can be late if a lot of people are wanting on and off. So you have to experiment a bit with the buses to make sure you get to work on time. The other thing to mention about buses is in the friendly city of Glasgow, we always thank the driver when we get off. So if you're ever sitting in the front of the bus or just getting off with lots of people, you'll hear everyone saying, "Thanks, driver," "Cheers, driver." So you get to join in that too. The next type of transport that we have a lot of is trains. The train stations are further apart than the bus stops. I think as close as the bus stops are, you could have one on either side of a train station. They're so close together. But if you're going through the city centre, particularly east to west, the trains are the fastest way because it takes like 4 minutes to get through the city centre on a train, whereas on a bus you have to stop at all the traffic lights. So that's a consideration, but it depends on whether you live near a station and whether your destination is near a station. But stations and buses also join up, so you might use a combination. The trains are warm and dry, as you would expect. This is Partick Station, which is the only station that has subway and train and buses all in one spot. Some of the trains stations have ticket offices and some don't, but the ones without ticket offices, they have machines if anyone needs to buy tickets. One thing to know about the trains is there are two big train stations in the city centre, Glasgow Queen Street and Glasgow Central. So they have trains that go outside Glasgow, and they have high level and low level trains. So the ones going east to west are low level, and the ones going in Glasgow Central's case to the south side or Queen Street, like to Bishop Briggs just outside Glasgow, those are high level, but the east-west ones are low level, so you need to know which one and allow time to get upstairs. Also, the east-west trains go through either Central or Queen Street, so make sure you know which one you're matching up to. So that is your trains. Then we have the super cute subway. It was built in 1896 when people were a lot shorter, so it's quite wee, as we say, and there's some Hobbit jokes because it's little. But if you live near a subway, then it's really handy, or if you're going between the city centre and another part of town that's next to the subway, it's very handy. And it's warm because you're always inside waiting. It's dry. It is very reliable for when it's coming. And each stop is exactly 2 minutes apart. It's very easy because it's in a circle. You can't really go wrong. If you get on the wrong direction, just get off at the next stop and get on the platform going the other way. You don't need a new ticket or anything. The two things to know about the subway that are less easy are on Sundays it closes at 6 in the evening. So if you're coming home after 6, you'll need a bus or something. And also Ibrox Station there in the southwest is right next to Ibrox Football Club Stadium. So when they have a game on, there are fans from all over the city using the subway. And there will be signs earlier in the day at all the subway stations telling you what times it'll be busy if you want to use a different transport instead. So this is the subway, which is very cute. And in the transport museum called the Riverside Museum, they actually have the original carriage from 1896 with its painted glass, and one from the 1940s with a little video of people getting on and off and telling their stories. So there are different kinds of tickets. Each company has lots of different kinds of tickets, but we usually just buy a zone card for you because that covers everything. There are different zones to think about, but normally it's just worth getting the all Glasgow zones and you can go everywhere that you would want to go. The zone card looks like this, and in the everything being a bit different way, you use the zone card in different ways on different types of transport. So on the bus, you just show it to the bus driver and they'll see your picture, they'll see it's the right zones and dates, and they will let you on. On the subway, you need to take the bit where the picture is. There will be a smart card inside that, and you hold it up to the orange bit in the upper picture here, and that opens the gates. On the trains, if you're at one with a ticket barrier, one of the stations, then you need to take out this bottom pinkish bit and put it in the machine like you see with the orange stripy tickets there. You put it in the bottom, and when you pull it out the top, that's when the ticket gates open for you. To help you find your way around, we have, of course, you probably have Google Maps, but the other useful apps to have are First Bus, which will tell you theoretically live times, and it will also give you different options, including the train and the subway. And it will also tell you if it's a first bus or a different bus. The good thing about the zone card is it covers all the bus companies, so it doesn't matter to you if you have a zone card. ScotRail, that will also, this one is quite useful if you're wanting a particular train route, and then you can see all the different times for that. So if you look for a route on Google Maps, it tells you about that particular time. But on the ScotRail app, you can say, if I'm going from here to here, these are all the options within the next few hours kind of thing. ScotRail is also good if you're having any day trips like to Edinburgh. So at the bottom here of our app screen, we have the taxi options. So taxis are good if you want to get somewhere faster or late at night. So the yellow and Glasgow taxis, this is the main black taxi company. I will show you a bit more about this. Glasgow cabs used to be called Network Cars. There are various private hire companies, but that's, I think, the biggest one. And Uber, you might have heard of, you might have it in your country. And that's a bigger company that uses individuals. So a bit more about the taxi options. So you can see in this picture a classic black taxi made in London, but you get fridge magnets and things with these taxis. They're not all like that anymore. These only hold 5 passengers. You get bigger ones with 6 now. They're not all black, but we call them black taxis. And you see under the balloons, which you won't get, a little yellow light. When that is on and it is coming down the street, you can hold out your arm, as the guy in the mural here is doing, and the taxi driver can stop for you and you can get in. So they're quite spontaneous that way. If the light isn't on, it's got a passenger already and you'll need to find another one. Because they're more spontaneous and they're bigger, they cost more money, but they can be very handy. Private hire taxis are taxis that are ordinary cars, but they have a sticker on the side that says this taxi has to be pre-booked. That's so you don't get into random strangers' cars accidentally. These cost less, but they can be a bit slower to arrive. Uber is the other option that we've had for a few years now. These can be the quickest to show up sometimes, but you really need to look at the cost. So if it's a quiet time in the city, then the price will be really good. But if there's something going on, it could be a concert at the Hydro with thousands of people trying to get there, or it could be a Friday night, people going out, could be rainy, then the price will go up. So you probably want to actually compare these. As you saw on the last screen, there are apps for all of them. So sometimes it could be worth trying all of them and see which offers you something first and how the prices compare. Make sure to cancel the ones you're not using if that is the case. So the last bit of public transport is your own legs. And of course, if you're using public transport, you have to get to and from the transport. But in the city centre and lots of the parts of town, you can just walk. It's a really good place to walk, Glasgow. It's really easy to explore. In the city centre, there are lots of murals, paintings on the walls, like that taxi one. It's good exercise and it's spontaneous. You don't need a schedule. So a few things to keep in mind. In Glasgow, we're very free thinking, so we don't necessarily like to follow rules in this sense. So if you're especially in the city centre and you are in a shopping street waiting for the light to change so you can cross the street, there will be somebody standing in front of you who decides they're going to walk out in the street as soon as nobody's coming. And if you're looking at your phone and you notice in the corner of your eye that the person in front of you is moving, it's instinctive to walk out behind them thinking there's a green man. But there might not be a green man. They might have only left enough space for them and not for you. So you need to always make sure it's definitely clear before you cross the street. Also, sometimes people don't even push the light for a green man in quieter streets because they don't want to bother the taxis. If there's, not taxis, cars. If it's pretty quiet and there's only one car coming, because if you push the button, you cross the street and then it comes and it has to wait and you're not even there, you feel kind of mean. So there's all this weird psychology of walking in Glasgow, but just so you know. Walking is safe anywhere during the day. Late at night, you probably want a taxi. If you're working at night, make sure you talk to your host employer about the available public transport and when it finishes, because you're obviously not going to want to pay for a taxi to get home from work every day. So that is walking. So that is your quick overview of public transport, and we wish you happy travels around Glasgow. And if you have any questions, just ask.